Hi, this is Shane Starr, and today we're doing the second of a series of 9 videos on activating your inner Enneagram. Today we are looking at Enneagram 2, and to summarize, the same principles as our last series. We're not looking at our own type. We're not looking at our polar types, if there was such a thing in Enneagram, but we're looking at 2 areas, your wings and your arrow of integration. And so for type 2, that means you're either a 1 with a type 2 wing, or you're a 3 with a 2 wing. And interestingly, the arrow of integration for 2 comes from 8. So you may be an 8 trying to integrate towards 2. And that's an interesting thought for me, because on the face of it, it doesn't seem to make sense. But when you dig a little deeper and you think of the strengths of a good 8, you can see how that could kind of segue into being a 2. So again, to get the most out of this video, you should probably either be a 1 or a 3 or an 8. Okay? But we're looking at Enneagram 2. So the idea is, again, to integrate towards your positive arrow on the Enneagram chart, or to balance your wings. You know, if you're out of balance, it's like a plane. You can't fly straight. You want at least balanced wings, and flex that weaker wing so that you can be more balanced and be better as a whole. So today, what we're going to look at in order to help just feature Enneagram 2, we're going to be looking at Jean-Jacques Rousseau, a famous Swiss. I'm almost hesitant to call him a philosopher in the strictest sense, more of a political activist, actually. And we're going to take a look at his famous work called The Social Contract. But first, let's borrow our Rousseau Hudson source right here and read what a healthy Enneagram 2 is like. And you know, I want to admit from the outset, this video is almost therapeutic for me, because I feel like I can really benefit from my own information I've gathered and that I'm sharing. I don't know very many people who could benefit from these practices more than myself. So hopefully by teaching this, it helps me myself process it better and internalize it more, and therefore live by it. So here we go. A healthy type 2 looks like this. Empathetic, compassionate, feeling with and for others, caring and concerned about their needs, outgoing and passionate. They offer friendship and kindness, thoughtful, warm-hearted, forgiving and sincere, encouraging and appreciative, able to see the good in others, dedicated and supportive of people, bringing out the best in them. Service is important. They are nurturing, generous, and giving, truly loving people. At their best, they're deeply unselfish, humble, and altruistic, giving unconditional love to self and others. They feel it is a privilege to be in others' lives, radiantly joyous and gracious. In summary, everything that I'm not. Hopefully I can build this power within myself and activate that inner Enneagram 2 and be better. So that's what a healthy, good Enneagram 2 looks like. Now let's move on to Rousseau. His dates are 1712 to 1778. Again, he lived most of his life in Geneva, Switzerland, although he did spend some time in France. This was during the time of the Enlightenment, the French Revolution. A lot of crazy things going on in the world back then. Some interesting things about Rousseau. You know, I never really studied him in college. To be transparent, I picked this out because I felt like it went with Enneagram 2, and I thought it also went with FE, which is another kind of blind spot in my life. But So I wasn't that interested in this type of philosophy, but his life was really crazy and interesting. Rousseau's mother died 9 days after his birth. He was a very curious child and became well read very early on. Um, he grew up in a Protestant home, but he reacted against that and became Catholic. He was a tutor. He studied in Paris. He studied music, and he, during this young adult age, he took in a girlfriend, had kids, but because he couldn't afford the kids, he gave them up for adoption, which really in that day and age and place meant putting them in an orphanage. A kind of dark spot on his life that caused him a lot of pain and regret later on. Um, Later on, he reconverted to Protestantism. He defended the faith, but he encompassed all religions, which was kind of a no-no at the time. You either had to be Christian or be atheist if you were sort of like a holistic, um, truly diverse respecter of different religions. That was frowned upon back then. Um, he was friends with the Scottish philosopher David Hume until the two had a falling out. He ended up getting an arrest warrant in France for his writings. So, another interesting fact about him, he died from a pedestrian accident where it involved a Great Dane in a horse carriage or something, and he tried to run out of the way. He fell down. Um, he was a little bit scuffed up, but not overly hurt. But then he suffered some weird, like, seizures, complications, and later a stroke, which were all linked to that accident later on. So um, that's how Rousseau met his demise. So let's take a closer look at his work that I decided to present here, The Social Contract. I have some notes on it. Um, on the surface, this work is more political in nature. It explores the relationship between the state and individuals. And in this work, he argues that legitimate political authority only can come from the consent of the people in the government. So that part doesn't seem especially FE to me, but the part that does inside was he proposed that the individuals in a government give up individual freedoms in order to form a better society, a better government, a better community. And he called this notion the general will. He thought that individuals should take their will out of it and succumb to the general will, like be willing to set aside your selfish desires for the greater good, the collective good, the common good. And in this action is where individuals find true happiness and true freedom. And that's because they know inside they're obeying the law, and they know that they're helping contribute the to the world being a better place. All right. So there you have it. That's a summary of The Social Contract. And through reading this book, or even a summary of this book, what can it teach us? What new perspectives on Enneagram 2 does it give us? I think, and again, the unhealthy 2, it's like a trade system. I do all this stuff for you because I want to ask you for something later. That's the 2s that many of us are used to. But a healthy 2, a good 2, doesn't operate like that. A good 2 would be more along the lines of doing something for the sake of helping someone else. And I think from Rousseau's work, and along with his other works, the idea of giving up personal desires and freedoms for the greater good of the community, whether it's your friends or your family members, or even your community you work in or live in, it's like good FE, extrovert feeling. It's putting others before yourself. All right. And I think Rousseau really hits that point home. So with that being the case, what are some ideas that me personally, as well as the rest of us who can use the help, how can we bring Enneagram 2 into our lives in a real, empirical, tangible way? Um, I would say right off the bat, prioritize relationships. It's like I have to prioritize relationships. Actively nurture your connections with loved ones and colleagues. Show a real genuine interest in other people's lives, and be present when interacting with them. Don't be on your phone like me. Develop empathy and compassion. Listen actively. When someone's speaking, give them your full attention, your full eye contact. Don't be thinking of what you want to say in response. Let them finish first. Um, be a better listener. Practice mindfulness. Be present in the moment. And practicing this on your own will make you better at practicing it with others in their presence. Try to live in the moment. You know, a lot of MBTI questionnaires, when I fool around, take the test and stuff, it's always saying, you know, do you live in the present or the future? Do you live in the present or the past? And it's like, I live in both the present, or I live in both the past and the future more than the present. You know, I'm always planning for the future with the help of the past, and the present, I'm just working through it. It like gets lost on me. That's the unconscious, what Heidegger would call the ready to handness. Like the example Heidegger uses is turning a door knob to open it. You're not even thinking about that. You're thinking about walking in the room for a cup of coffee or to greet a person or something. You don't consciously think of turning the doorknob. Unfortunately, that's the way a lot of us operate in our lives. That's how someone like me operates with other people. I can pretend I'm listening, but to actually genuinely listen it takes more work and more practice, especially to be good at. I would say offer support and assistance to people. This is something I'm pretty good at. For one, if you're like me and a social introvert, the best way to operate in a work gathering or a party or something is to offer to help with something. That way, you're not sitting off like a weirdo in the corner. You're not doing nothing. You're helping the group around you. So you're doing good, but by being busy, you're not sitting there in idle chit chat, small talk, wasting your time. You're like doing, you know, you're cleaning up or setting the table or doing something worthy without having to engage in the uncomfortable social pleasantries, you know. So offer support and assistance. Look for opportunities to help. Notice when someone might need help and offer your support, even if they don't explicitly ask. I'm learning to do that at work. Even that's a work in progress, because I feel like I'm working harder than everyone else. So why should I take more work on? But I'm trying. So it's a work in progress. I'll let you know how it goes. Give without expectation. Now this differentiates the healthy two from the unhealthy two, because all twos give, but the unhealthy ones give expecting something back. A healthy two will give without expectation. Offer help and support without expecting anything in return. Again, we've already said this, but be a good listener. Sometimes listening is all other people want, you know. I'm so guilty of trying to fix people's problems. No matter what someone complains to me about, it's like my mind's just thinking, how can we fix this problem for them? I would do A, B, and C, maybe D, E, and F if A, B, and C don't work, but do this, do that. And the whole time I never give a hug. I never say, oh, I'm sorry, that sucks. I need to learn how to do that. Be a better listener. Show appreciation and gratitude. Express thanks verbally. Let people know you appreciate their efforts and support. Now, I'm good at this, but what I do with my right hand, I undo with my left by whining and complaining a lot. So it gives a net neutral result, you know, like If you express gratitude, that's great. But if you're complaining before and after you express gratitude, how good is that gratitude you just expressed? A lot of people will think it's not even genuine. So try to, if you don't have something nice to say, try to not say it at all. And this is advice to myself as well as anyone else. But express thanks. Let people know. Perform acts of service. We've kind of already gone through that with offering support and assistance, but help out with chores or errands as a way of showing your gratitude. I do this at home by picking up after the dogs. I do the trash. I need to get better at the dishes, but someday I'll get there. Perform acts of service for the people around you. Offer words of encouragement. Lift others up with sincere compliments and positive feedback. I don't tend to do that enough either. I'll work on that. A healthy too, and also healthy extroverted feelers and introverted feelers for that matter, they'll focus not only on self-care but on setting boundaries, and that's something that those of us who don't have good FI struggle with. And those of us who are weak on Enneagram 2, we don't set good boundaries. We're either stone-faced and don't share enough, or it's like, okay, you really asked me how am I doing today? Let me tell you all about it. And then we just unload all our problems on them. No one wants to hear that. Try to set good, positive, appropriate boundaries. Don't neglect your own needs. Recognize when you need rest, and learn how to say no. Some people say yes to everything, and that's just how they operate. Some people are good at saying no, and they don't care what others think of them. Those of us like me in the middle, we say yes to more than we really mean, in the hopes that they'll say, no, it's okay, I got it. And then we get resentful when we end up doing the very things we offered to help with. So do what I say and not as I do on that count. Don't offer help unless you're really going to give it without any expectations in return. At the same time, communicate your needs clearly. If you're already overwhelmed, if you're already like drowning and someone else says, hey, can you take care of this for me? Don't just say yes to be nice. Be like, hey, I would love to help you, but I'm drowning. An analogy I used the other day with my coworkers, I said, have you heard about those dads who run in after their kids to save them, and then the kid ends up okay and the dad ends up drowning? Well, that's going to be me at work if I stop what I'm doing to help you with your task. You're going to be okay, and then I'm going to be the one in the boss's office in trouble. So make sure you help with others as you can, but take care of your own needs too. I would say, that leads to healthy, not just love of others, but self-love and a good balance between caring for yourself and caring for others. So I think that's all I have for Enneagram 2. Now it's up to us to actually do it. And starting with me, I'll lead by example and try to get better at these things. Tomorrow or the next day, we'll go into Enneagram 3, and we'll take things from there. Peace out.